Have you ever taken a break from training, gone on holiday, broken the structure and consistency of routine for a period of time, only to find that starting back up again was a really big challenge? Maybe the reason for the break was strategic, like an off-season or planned time away with your family. Or perhaps it was forced on you by injury or illness and you had to step away. Or maybe it was something completely out of your control, like a big work project that required a lot of your time, attention, and focus that would otherwise have been dedicated towards your training time, or a family emergency or situation that required you to shift your priorities and your focus towards spending time with them. Whatever the cause, taking time away from training can be a really valuable experience, especially if it's strategic, but the reality remains that coming back into training is a very difficult thing to do for many people, myself included. So in this video, I want to talk through some of the struggles that I've navigated over the last 3 weeks as I have built back consistency and routine and momentum into my day-to-day and week-to-week life after taking a strategic break from an off-season, as I've picked up my training again and also got back into a new year of coaching and work. Hey guys, my name is Rory. I'm a full-time endurance and swimming coach on a journey to grow and optimize my coaching business while at the same time balancing the training that's needed to try and push myself up into the elite ranks of age group triathlon 70.3 racing. In these videos and through my writing, I am hoping to explore some of the aspects that can help us be happier, healthier, and more productive and successful human beings. So let's dive into building momentum. Stress plus rest equals growth. That's a fairly simple formula that was made quite popular by a book called Peak Performance that was written and released a couple of years ago, but it's something that elite coaches and performers have had knowledge of for many, many years. The combination of both stress on the body and on the mind, plus the opportunity for rest, is what creates growth. And this is critical to success, both in the short term and in the long term, whether it's mental and emotional or physical that we're talking about. Now, for me personally, and I think for many of you watching or reading this, the idea of hard work is actually not that difficult for you. It's the rest part of that equation that often tends to trip us up a little bit. At least it does for me. See, it takes a lot more courage and faith for me to rest than it does for me to put in work. And for years, if I'm honest, I've lacked that courage. Have I taken breaks from training over the last couple of years? Yeah, for sure I have. Have a lot of those breaks being forced on me because I've needed to rest for health reasons or injury reasons or emotional, mental reasons? Yes, for sure. Because that's what happens. Too much work and not enough rest results in injury, illness, or burnout. So in an attempt to learn from the mistakes that I have made in the past, I plan to give myself a proper off-season at the end of 2022. After my last 70.3 race in Tiberias, I deloaded my training completely for about 2 or 3 weeks and then took 2 full weeks off anything structured, completely work and training, and just enjoyed a holiday. During this time, I disconnected my Training Peaks account, turned off my phone, disconnected my email, and just went about enjoying my days completely stress-free, all with the intention of allowing my body and my mind to recuperate, sharpen up, and get ready for the next iteration for the next year, this 2023 season. Now, I knew how valuable that process was going to be, but it also took a ton of courage. Why? Because I hate losing fitness. The thought of dropping down and rebuilding it back up is always something that's really hard for me to swallow. Equally, I don't enjoy rebuilding the momentum of my routines after a break. See, I thrive in routine. If I think back to the periods of my life where I've been most successful and most effective, they have always been when I have been deeply immersed in a weekly or daily, monthly routine and structure. That just seems to be where I find my flow, and essentially that is what it is. I get into a almost perpetual state of flow where everything just feels effortless, everything I am eager, confident, and looking forward to doing everything that is lined up for me in any given day, any given week, or any given month. Newton's first law of motion is any object that is at rest will remain at rest. Any object that is in motion will remain in motion. And I think that law, that physics law, helps me understand a little bit why I struggle so much to rest and why building momentum back up after rest can be such a challenge for me. Resting disrupts that effortless flow state. In that flow state, I want to remain in flow, and equally when I settle into rest, which takes a lot of effort to kind of slow down, and when I then settle into that rest, it takes a lot of effort to rebuild the momentum back up again to get into flow. But I've learned that not taking these breaks has severe consequences on my physical and my mental health, and I've had to deal with those consequences by not taking the breaks over the last couple of years. I think that's especially the case when you're pushing your body and mind to the maximum limit that it's able to tolerate at this given time. The harder you are pushing the boundaries, the more necessary the rest is to develop and grow from it. And I think that that's true both in a physical and in a mental and emotional case. So I've learned to rest strategically over the last year, and so consequently I'm having to learn how to rebuild momentum after taking these strategic rests. And so as I've worked to regain that momentum over the last 3 weeks, it's got me thinking very much about how to systematize and break down that process of rebuilding momentum. What is involved in momentum, and how do we go about overcoming some of the challenges that crop up as we try to get back into the process of consistency and routine again and find that effortless flow state where everything tends to work quite seamlessly together. So over the last 3 weeks, I've come up with 5, 6, maybe 7 ideas that have really helped me with the evolution or with getting that momentum going again back in my life, both from a work perspective and a training perspective and just an overall enjoyment perspective. So let's run through each of those. The first one is simply just to start. Like anything, to get moving, you have to take that first step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, and if you never actually get the first step taken, it's going to be impossible to start gaining any sort of momentum. So the first step in building momentum after a break is simply to start. The second thing that I have done is to work in micro blocks, in small 1-week blocks. 1 week became 2 weeks, 2 weeks into 3 weeks. Break it down into a much smaller, much more manageable period. Each of those periods will build on each other, kind of like you're climbing up a flight of stairs. A small step up, then another small step up, then a third small step up. Much easier than trying to take one big step up. So working in these micro blocks, these small blocks where I'm only focused on what I need to do in the next 6 or 7 days has made it much easier for me to go about crossing each thing that I need to cross off the list, instead of thinking about all the things that I need to do in the next month, or all of the training that I need to do in the next month, or all the training I need to do to get back to where I was before I started. Number 3 is making sure that we're not trying to go from where we are now after taking a break right back to where we were when we stopped. For me personally, I brought my running down to a very minimum level. I was running at about 15 to 20 kilometers per week, each week through that unstructured period, just to make sure that things were ticking over and I wasn't going to put myself at jeopardy of injuring myself when I came back to training. But there was no way that I could go from 20 Ks a week up to 50 or 60 Ks a week in the first week or the first couple of days without risking an injury. And so the fourth thing after starting and planning in these micro blocks is to make sure that we are incrementally increasing as we go up, not trying to go from 0 to 100, but slowly taking those steps from first step to the second step to the third step to the fourth step, not trying to go from the first step all the way up to the fourth step. Then the next step that I have taken that has really helped me has been to make my primary goal simply process, not outcome. Success has been in the doing, not necessarily in the quality of the work. And what's interesting to me is that took me a few days at first as I started to get back into training, looking at certain paces or certain heart rates and trying to dial into those exactly, and then just realizing that my body is not at that point right now, and that success is simply getting through the session as opposed to nailing it perfectly. I think, if I'm completely honest with you, this video is one of those things. I feel as awkward as all hell talking to this camera again because I haven't done it for so long. But the idea for me right now is success is just simply getting it out there versus trying to make it the best video and not screw up in any place, which I don't actually think is possible. But hopefully, as the next video gets recorded and the next post gets written, that process becomes a little bit more seamless and the consistency starts to build up and it gets better. The quality gets better simply because there's more repetition. So both in a work setting and in this and in the training setting, making the focus and the primary goal on execution, on process, not necessarily on outcome of quality, has been super helpful. And a couple of ways that this can kind of be tracked is in Training Peaks, it's just simply trying to make sure that there is something recorded for each of the sessions that you get done. Not how well it's done, but that you have made the effort to cross each one of them off. An X on the calendar for each day that you've done or not done a certain thing. If you're looking to cut out a specific thing from your diet, ice cream or alcohol, having a cross in a calendar on your diary for every day that you have managed to do that. It's simply just the process that we're looking to cross off, not necessarily the quality of the outcome. There are habit tracking apps that you can use that allow you to give yourself a tick for the day that you get them done. Focus on process, not on the outcome, not on the quality of the work. And as you gain momentum, the quality will naturally increase with the repetitions that you get in. Number 5 for me has been to make the commitment. I know what I need to do, and I know that at rest, I'm going to have to put a little bit of effort into making sure those things get done. And so by making a commitment with something like an implementation intention, which takes a little bit of planning, but knowing that on Monday at 9:30 a.m. I am going to go to the pool and I'm going to swim this set. On Tuesday at 4 p.m. I will be doing a bike ride and it'll look like this and it'll be done at this place. Setting those, making the commitments, and then setting the implementation intention of when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, who you're going to do it with, can all be very helpful in helping that momentum get built up. At the same time as saying that, I think that's something that I've personally struggled with and had to manage quite carefully, but is a key aspect to building that momentum and building that consistency, is to be flexible with the plan. So while you want to build the commitment and make the commitment to be at the pool on Monday at 9:30 a.m., what happens when you drive to the pool and then realize that because you haven't swum for 6 weeks, your kit bag isn't in the car? Yeah, one of those moments. Right? So be a little bit flexible, build in margin, expect hiccups, get your bike out to ride for the first time and realize that your rear derailleur is completely out of alignment and sounds absolutely horrendous. You're going to need to book that in for a service and get it tidied up or tightened up, right? Expect those hiccups to happen as you come back in. As I start recording videos, I can't find the SD card, the battery is flat, all of these things that are playing out as you come back into building in momentum and building in the routine, something that with things that you haven't done for a while. Expect those things to happen. Build in a little bit of margin. And this is another reason why starting with smaller expectations and just looking to get little bits done will help you as you go, instead of trying to go from 0 to 100 really quickly, because the chances are there are going to be so many variables that impact your ability to do that are going to end up demoralizing you or slowing you down, slowing that momentum process down. And then the final one is to leverage the network of accountability that you have around you. And this is, if I'm honest, something that I am taking advantage of now for the first time. I haven't used it in many years. Usually I've done everything solo. This year, as I've built the momentum back up, I have leveraged the network that I have. Friends that I know are training at a specific time, I've messaged them to say, can I join you for this session? And I've had that reciprocated back to me, people saying, can you join me for this session? And I think leveraging the network around you, the people around you, whether it's training partners or friends or your spouse or your family situation, use them. Ask them to help you with the accountability of what you're trying to do. The more that support is underneath you, behind you, and around you, the more likely you are to gain the momentum that you need to gain. If you're fighting with the structures and fighting with the environment that you're in, it's going to be a whole lot more challenging to build the momentum than if you have a network around you that you can tap into to help you be a little bit more consistent. Momentum is strength or force gained by the repetition of a series of events. So in order for us to gain momentum, we need a series of events to tap or build up on top of each other. And using the ideas, the 6 or 7 ideas that I've just talked you through there, I'm on track to finish my best week of training in the last 3 weeks. I've got good volume. I've got really good quality in. I've also got an almost empty inbox, and I'm recording a video here for the first time in maybe a year and a half, which is a huge success for me. I've got dinner planned with friends. I've got social training planned. I've been on a date with my wife. I'm feeling like I'm starting to find that flow state again. There is a lot of stuff happening, but my energy, my eagerness, and my commitment to do it is making it feel like a joy every time I have to go, or every time I choose to go and do something. So I'm hoping that this video, as awkward as it's felt recording it, has been somewhat helpful for you guys, and I'm hoping that as the momentum builds with these week by week, the quality will go up and the impact will be as good as it can be. If you've enjoyed this, please let me know. If you have thoughts or feedback for me, I would really appreciate it as I learn and grow on this journey again. I will chat to you in the next video. Have a good one.